Sit up straight and tall. Start to feel though. So in fact, before you slouch again, like just allow for a second. Like just land. I hope all of you have gotten better at feeling what it is just to land. Like that's a skill. Like you want to learn how to do and land in the middle of any kind of chaos, right? It makes life better if you can do that in stressful situations. So you practice it. I hope you practice it sometimes, where you start to just tune into your body and let I mean this kind of metaphorically, but literally to let the earth energy, like the grounded energy, just release to it and feel like a dropping, like towards, like a down, like like when you finally sit down or when you finally get into bed. That's earth stuff. And it's consistent with like exhaling, right? You just go. So I hope you start to learn how to distinguish between different qualitative differences in how energy feels in your body. So that earth one is a really good one. And so from that place of like where you've kind of felt you've been a little bit more attention to your exhale, start to soften around the temples, because the energy of relinquishing to your base, to the earth, right, that can go through your whole body. So soften around the jaw and release the skin on the forehead, the inside of the mouth. So as you release like that, obviously you're more internally quiet. That's the beginning. You're close to Shavasana, but that's also the beginning of all effort, is that quiet. It's just a couple more breaths of just feeling the hum, the empty hum that is you. Start to be more aware of your sitting bones and feet. So you're beginning the activation from that blanket of quiet. The backdrop of all asana is quiet relief. So start to push down slightly through your sitting bones and down through your inner heels. And so now attention starts to come to the spine. So lift the chest, balance the head over the neck. So now the quiet is getting some form, right, from your body. So re-soften the inside of your mouth, the skin of your forehead, around the temples, the jaw. Notice now the expansion of the inhalation, the spark of the inhalation. And then exhale and lengthen your spine by hitting down through the sitting bones and feet gently and stretching up, extending up to the top of your head. So lengthen your spine on exhalation. But don't do anything too hard, or else you kind of tear the fabric, the connection. If you're able, with relative ease, bring your hands into prayer in front of you. For me, I don't do that when I center, unless I can lean on something. So now equalize the pressure between your hands if you've got your hands there. Otherwise, feel your midline. Keep lifting the sternum. So If your hands are in prayer, use the heel of your hands to help you lift under the collarbones. Everybody as you lift your sternum, make space and broaden at the side armpit chest. Hit down through your sitting bones, roll the inner upper thigh slightly in and down, very slight. Hit down through the inner heel and lengthen your spine back up. Keep the connection between your hands. Activation and release. Let go of your day and prepare your mind to do yoga. Inhale is an expansion. Exhale is a lengthening of your spine. Feel the whole room on your skin. Meet the whole room from your spine to your skin. Good. And then release. Bring your hands down to your thighs, palms up. Increase the lift of the sternum. Drop the chin down. So activation, rise up. But you got to remember, you don't want to rise up with your chest and leave the sense of the earth, right? The grounding. So feel your feet and sitting bones and lift the sternum extra up. And then drop the chin to make your mind be humble and feeling all that's around you through your skin, through your pores, through the shape of your body. And then notice the interplay of your inhalation and exhalation as you're staying with lifted sternum and dropped chin, connected to the whole room. Feel your rib cage. Receive your breath. Your spine, receive the inhalation. As you put more attention to your lift of to your rib cage and spine, make sure you're not gripping the inside of your mouth. Raise your head up with closed eyes. Open your eyes. Has anyone really paid attention to how much you're gripping the inside of your mouth during your day? It's wild how much that's happening, right? And so it's one of those things that you can make sure when you're in a situation like, hey, I could soften the inside of my mouth, right? Especially if it's being kind of getting more intense. So, this Wednesday, we have our next installment of yoga, disability, and transformation at 2:00. I know some of you have been on that, and I hope you'll all come in again. What I'm hoping to do is facilitate a discussion. And I, especially if I see friendly faces that I know, especially from this class, I might actually even call on you to say some things, but I'll warn you in advance if I'm gonna. But I want to explore the difference between, and this is a subtlety, between having to accept so much of your life. So where there's big about psychological acceptance, right? You live with a changing body or disability. You're supposed to accept this, accept that, it's all this acceptance. And what I want to do is make a distinction between acceptance and allowing. Okay. So acceptance to me kind of feels very like I have to, it doesn't feel that organic. It's like, okay, I'm never going to go upstairs at any of your houses, so I'll accept that. And it just feels really kind of like okay, yeah, that's how my life's going to be, right? But that doesn't strike me as organic as what I want, right? So I can accept that I'm never going to walk again, and that's just going to be true. But what about how do I allow for more sensation than that? How do I allow, instead of thinking of how much the world's turned, away, there's so much I just have to accept, that actually if I change my relationship to the things that I have to accept, in a way that makes them more fulfilling and full bodied. Because and so it's a subtle distinction that you and I have been studying together in this class for a while. And I talked to you about the energy of the quiet and the acceptance, um, um, being an energy in the beginning of class, right? That in fact, if you only, so what happens to me, and I'll try to be more articulate about hopefully on Wednesday, is that if I accept too much, I end up trying to overcome the obstacles in my life more. You know, it's like, okay, I don't want that. Okay, either I completely accept it, or it engages me for the life I want to live to make me be a little bit more willful. And I want to say there's a whole bunch of space between accepting and what is, right? And we have to live in that space between if we're going to have our whole bodies, if we're going to have a life that doesn't feel like it's always imposing on, you know, we're having to accept because of our disability. Does this make sense to anybody, or am I going to be like in trouble coming on Wednesday, or does it make some sense? Right? Yeah, good. So that's what we're going to try to talk about, and I'm going to do some reading, I'm going to do some talking, we're going to do a yoga practice, but I'm also like want all of you to, any of you that sign up, to think about it, and hopefully we get a discussion going where people ask questions and make comments about the things and the absurd things that the world's asking you to accept, or your friends have to accept. And it's like, wait, yeah, there's a space in here. I don't have to just. So think about that, and God help me that hopefully I can get more articulate about it, so we can have a discussion, so people can hear what it's like to feel and see the inside of disability and the potential. I mean, I just got tired of, I'm really good at accepting things. So this is where it comes out personally for me. I'm really good at accepting things, but my tendency when I just accept has been to deaden inside a little bit as I accept, right? And that's the space that Mind Body Solutions tries to open. It's like, no, there's a difference. You don't have to just, okay, that's okay, I can't do that. There's a whole other world of space in there that I think actually helps you move your body, right? And I've gotten very good. I'm incredibly willful, and so I've been able to deaden certain expectations, like, or just kind of, okay, I get it, I can't do that, right? And it's like, wait, I want more than that, and it doesn't mean I'm ever going to walk in. It doesn't mean I'm going to be able to go, you know, whatever. And I don't need to go swim a marathon or do a triathlon to feel more whole, right? The way to feel more whole is to have there be a more organic inside of me, right? Not a view that goes from the outside and looks back in at my situation, right? And Anthony wrote in, people expect you to accept. That's exactly the energy, Anthony, that I want to talk about, right? That expectation, both from our culture that then gets into us, right? And it's like, wait, and the thing is that often you have to kind of push against it, right? And I don't want to do that either. Like, I don't want to push against the world either. You know why? Because that's fatiguing as hell. like like I don't want to prove or try to convince people that I'm okay despite all that I need to accept, right? So that is exactly, Anthony, the type of discussion we're talking about, and hopefully we'll chime in some and share some wisdom, and you get to hear other people talk about it. But we better do some asana. But you see, I've been trying to share this with you this whole time I teach this class, right? All right. So sit up, so start to move around again. So again, you know, I think it has a lot to do with your spine. And if I just accepted that my body was paralyzed, I never would have been able to feel all the things I can feel in my body because I can still sense my whole body. So just this move forward, and it's sort of warming up again, right? You try to get your spine to go, oh yeah, like if I accept too much, right? If I accept too much forward and back, I don't explore, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm not accepting. It means I'm thinking there's a whole bunch, and then go over to the right, and go over to the left, and just kind of move and kind of get your spine to be more awake, right? In order to explore what's going on, I'm tipping my head back if that's comfortable. Don't do it if it's dizzy, right? And then forward. and then back again. And then to the right. Let's get someone coming in again. And then to the left. I hope you'll join. We're kind of late to the advertising. And then back again. And then forward. And this time, inhale, take your left arm up. Exhale, take it down. So we're just moving. Inhale, right? And so check this out. So if I just take my arm up, there's one thing. If I take my arm up and use my spine, I'm way more active. And then up with the other arm. So here's me just taking my arm up. Here's me doing it with my whole body. You see, if you see the difference, like figure out a way to move with your whole body, and then down, and then inhale up and move it with your whole body, right? And then down. If you can't take your arm up, just do this. But I want you to hit down through your feet as you stretch up, right? So you start moving your whole body, right? Back and forth. And now we're making it a rhythm, right? So we're going back and forth, making it a rhythm, right? And then inhale, go over a little bit. So let's get this open here, right? Just a little bit. So I'm taking some time because I want to feel this expand, right? And then go the other way. And again, I'm taking a little time to not just throw my arm there, but to open the sense of my skin right here, right? And then go the other way, right? And then come back into center and feel the difference, and then come forward again and back again, and then up, and then we're just kind of making it be fun. Down, inhale up, over, right? Down, especially this time, go a little bit back and up and over the chair a little bit. Come forward. Now I find, and this is like my yoga practice, like I find that it's harder for me to get my legs to be more as open as my upper body because I'm paralyzed, right? So I want to do some things to make the sense of my body, especially my legs, be more on screen with me today. So I'm going to take my arms and push back on your knees into your hip sockets, and then release. So I'm going to get this pressure of articulating my femur bone back towards my waist, right? To be felt and then released. So we're going to do this in rhythm. Feel, do that and release. So the spine starts to lift, but I'm trying to pay attention to the feeling of the femur going back into my hip socket. So we're going to go back and forth a few times. And obviously, you're maybe going to want to exhale when you push your femur bones in, right? And then exhale when you let go. So we're just going to do this a few times. And then if you can, grab your leg. And if you can't, don't worry about it. But I just want to get a different position. So I'm just going to stretch a little bit here. So whatever you can do. If that's down here and all it is to cross your legs, great. But just get movement. So I'm just trying to get some movement in my hip socket, right? Right, and just feeling that. And if that means if you can move your leg independently, just move it independently. Like just, you can move it around, I can't, right? So again, I'm gonna take the other leg up and I'm just gonna, my balance isn't the same on this side, so I gotta be more careful. So I'm just gonna move it a little bit. So I wanna get my hips and my shoulders to start feeling a little bit more open, right? And then going back and putting my feet down and pressing in on my knees, right? So again, what we're trying to do is just kind of wake up the body, kind of like take the cobwebs out. So if you can, again, bring up your foot. If you can squeeze your foot a little bit. If you can't, just press your foot into the floor, right? And spread your toes and like just trying to get more space, more happening. So again, I'm just trying to, and then if you can, put your thumb against your calf and your fingers over your tibia fibia and squeeze that a couple times. So you're just trying to get blood flow and you're trying to, so you don't have to pick up your leg to do this. You can do it by just bending forward. But I want you to bring the muscle of your calf towards the bone of your femur bone. Just like feel that up and down. So what we're trying to do is just get some blood flow, right? And then I'm going to release. I'm going to grab my foot, just squeeze it a couple times. And if that means pushing it onto the floor for you and spreading your feet, that's great. So I'm just trying to get a tactile input to my brain on my legs more, right? That's all. Trying to get different information. And I'm going to squeeze again the tibia fibia into the calf, right? And so I just want to go, hey, that's my body, right? It's amazing. We live in a body 24/7. We pay attention to our bodies very little, right? It's one of those weird paradoxes, right? The mind gets so preoccupied with everything else, and then set it back down. And then if you can, take your legs a little bit wider, right? So you're just trying to open up the hips a little bit, right? And so you just want to get this like expansion through the groin, right? And then lift your chest. So you're just doing a little bit, you're just in a little different position, because that's one of the true wisdoms of asana, right? Is it gets your body in different positions, right? So I'm doing it on inhalation. So I'm inhaling and expanding, and then letting my breath go. Getting bigger and getting bigger, right? From inside to out, right? And then back. And then putting my legs back on the right underneath me. Push into my knees. And then release, right? Push into my knees. And then release. Like I'm just trying to get that sense of rhythm. So now on these next few ones, try to make it even more rhythmic, right? So you come in and then release, and then you can make it continuous. You come in and then you release. So again, we're just trying to wake up the spine. Wake up the spine a little bit, but now using some rhythm too, not just exertion. So I'm pushing on my knees. I'm lifting my spine. I'm letting it go. I'm making it continuous, so it has a sense of rhythm more. That's one of the tricks to rhythm, is to feeling things as continuous, as opposed to just in segments, right? So the whole movement, right? So then when I go and inhale and take the arm up, it becomes part of the continuum, right? And then back down and push into each knee and lift the spine, and then release, and then inhale, take the other arm up. And then exhale, come down. Push in on the knees, lift up, release, inhale, take your arm up. Exhale, back down. All this being continuous. Ground again, and then inhale up. Exhale down. Lift the chest. Release, inhale up. Exhale down. Lift the chest. Release, inhale up. Exhale down. Push in on the knees. And then release. And then start to move in your seat a little bit. So like I'm lifting up a little bit, and I'm moving my left knee forward and then back, and then doing it the other way. Right? And so the movement, you just get the feeling of the knees. You can just slide one knee forward. I have to lift up to do it, right? Right, and then now I want to make this rhythmic, right? I want to start to, and what, as you try it, and then release for a second, as you try to make something rhythmic, right? And this is where the difference between someone that's just moving and someone that's being a yogi, right? Is that when you start to make it more rhythmic, notice what you do practically to do that, right? Because there's a technique your brain is employing. You may not know what it is, but your mind may not. So like when I go like this, I gotta do a whole bunch of things. One knee's coming forward, one's coming back, and then I have to drop down nicely, and then
switch my arms, go the other way. And then I noticed, geez, I'm way better at pushing my left knee forward than my right knee, right? That there's differences in my body, right? That's yoga. So I go better this way than this way. So then I sit there and notice that as a yogi and go, huh, all right, I'm going to try to do better on the side that doesn't work as well. I'm going to sit there and try to figure like what I need to do. So here's the better side, which flows better. And then I'm going to figure out, it has to do with my hand placement, I can tell you right now. And then I'm going to go with the other side. This side feels out of rhythm. So I'm going to stay here for a second and get used to this like movement, right? And then go the other, right? Get that feeling, right? It's a feeling when you move. And then go the other way, right? And feel that, right? And so now I'm going to try to just move without lifting as much. One knee forward. Oh my goodness, my left knee forward does not want to come forward as well. And then switch to my right. I notice with my scoliosis. And notice my shoulders are starting to be involved, right? With the way my knees are going forward, right? So I'm just trying to figure out what I have to do. Good, and then release. I can tell you right now that what I was just doing, I just caught myself, was I was kind of just thinking about my knees, my hips, and my shoulders, and my spine, but I wasn't paying attention to my feet. Like it kind of got off my radar, right? So that's when a yogi starts to go, okay, wait, I'm trying to do everything with my whole body. I just caught myself forgetting my feet. So now I'm going to try to, as I do the same thing, try to make sure I push down through my feet a little bit and then back and then back. Oh, dang, that side's just not nearly as good. Right? And then back and forth, right? I'm just trying to feel, but I'm making sure I'm just feeling my whole body and then release. All the way over your head, get this open again, right? And then straighten the arm and turn it to yoga. And then notice when you do a little softening, what happens to your spine. See how it drops? Engage. Right? Here's it me dropping it, drop it again. Now this time when you straighten the arm and engage, extend down through both sitting bones of both feet. Engage. Roll it open. Roll it down. Roll it open. Which world do you want to live in? You want to live in the one where it's rolled down? Can you feel how much crappier this feels when it's rolled down? That's not the world I want to live in. I want to live in the world where it's rolled up. Good, and then release. So one of the tricks, so we're going to do the other side, so I'm going to go over the other way. So we're going to just stretch out over it and get it open, right? And feeling this open, so this side's harder for me as usual. Right? And then I'm going to engage it into a full pose. And then release. And then engage. And then release. Get myself in a little better position. Right? And now I'm going to let it drop and think, when I live with a disability, when I just accept that this might too much, I live in this world, not the one that evolves. Evolve and move your spine. And contrast it with the drop. And then evolve. And then back to the middle, right? To the center. Right? Find a way to stretch your back a little bit, your spine and your back. So I'm going to come forward to my table. I'm going to get length in my spine. Now that could be done just with my chair, right? But I want more length in my sitting bones. I mean, in my low back. So I know that space, I hope you take that on faith, that length in your back is like magic. Like it's just a good sensation. And you need to like think of it as a good sensation that you want like drinking water, right? That your back needs to be uncompressed, right?
And it needs to be part of like your daily routine, right? In different moments in your day. Good, and then release. So now if you can lift up, and then back down. And so this time, even if you can't come off, I don't care, right? But I want you to take some weight off your sitting bones, right? And I want you to shake your butt a little bit, right? Right, and then back down. And then start with the other side. So if you don't notice, this is the thing about what yogi just drives you nuts, right? I'll bet you almost every time you lift up and shake your butt, you always start with the one direction first. For me, I go this way, right? And right away, the yogi in me is going, okay, damn it. There's one habit. I want the other habit too. So now I got to lift up. Then when I lift up and shake my butt, I've got to go this way first. And that's a different action. And then back down. And then go up and do the way I want to. And then back down. And then I got to go the other way first. Dang it, I don't like that as much. Isn't that weird? And then sit down. Can you believe all these little things, all these little brain patterns that you have that you're not even aware of? Because your brain's always going to pick the same way to do it. Because the brain, your mind, right? Your mind more, is trying to control everything. And it's got this strategy that if I just narrow the world down enough, then I can control everything. And has anyone figured out how that doesn't work when you live with a disability? That doesn't work. That doesn't lead to a lot of big, huge happiness, right? All right, so now I want you to take both arms behind you. So we're just trying to get the chest open, so, right? And so there's my shoulders rolled forward. This energy is dropped, right? And so remember, Big Iyengar talks about this energy as the energy storehouse. If you can have this more open, so here's, I'm gonna try to open it. So I'm taking my shoulders back, but I'm not just taking my shoulders back. I'm trying to take my shoulders back and expand right here on both sides. And then notice what that does. And then release. So I don't know about you, but and actually I am pretty sure about you, but I don't want to pretend I know too much about you, right? Is that you probably breathe better into one lung than another. And that's kind of a universal pattern that's developed, right? And so I can tell you, for me again, as my arms go behind me, right? I take my shoulders back. But not just the shoulders. I want to hit down through the earth, lengthen my spine, and then open. And I can tell it's more effort for me to open on the short side of my scoliosis, right? So I'm going to keep that. And without trying to really force my breath, I'm going to try to make sure that I direct my breath into the, I'm letting someone in, direct my breath into the side that isn't as open. But I don't want to force it there. I want to like pay attention enough and make sure that I'm breathing equally. What's funny to me is and this is true throughout your day, you end up taking more breath through one nostril than another. And for me, I very rarely am breathing as well into my left nostril. So I'm opening my body here, trying to be equal on both sides. Got to straighten my head. And I'm taking some time to breathe equally into both sides of my ribcage. Now this is actually kind of fatiguing for me, because I'm not used to bringing so much attention here, right? I'm used to leaning on other parts of my spine. So I'm just noticing that as a yogi. Good, and then release. And it's really important when you start to discover that you've got these way more asymmetries. So a lot of times
in traditional classes, when I'm teaching traditional classes, and I start having a student start to become more aware of all those little things, because any student's got them. Doesn't matter if you live with a disability or not. But it's so funny. And then you watch these very agile, let's say 35 to 45-year-old adults, they're, traditional bodies, and they start getting all caught up in how asymmetrical they are. Like it's some sort of big affliction. And when you live with disability, you just kind of laugh and go, you have no idea. It's like a funny thing where you just go, no, actually, it's just because you're becoming aware of it that you think it's big. But it's how you've been living the whole time. And so when you start to catch these asymmetries like I'm constantly, take your arms behind you again, right? Watching about each side of my rib cage. It's okay, because gravity is what's doing this. It's not that I'm a bad person or something, or I'm going to go straight to the ER because I don't breathe as well into my left lung, right? No, it's just like, and there's my head. It wants to go this way. It's like, wait, I'm going to try to straighten everything out. Open both sides of my chest, both sides of my solar infra chest. Feel my sitting bones. Feel my feet. And try to take a symmetrical breath, even if I only get one in this whole practice. It's like opening up the shades on a window. You've been not letting light in a lot of places. So I really want you to get this sense of both sides of your ribcage. And then I want you to, as you keep breathing, I want you to feel both sitting bones, both thighs, and both heels. So you really get this sense. And then as you have that whole sense, adjust yourself to make yourself more lit. Do what you need to do. So I'm sitting there doing micro adjustments as I'm trying to teach, because I'm listening to my own body. Places I'm not working, I can tell you I could expand across here way better. Didn't realize that. Good, and then release. Because this sense of your rib cage, we're going to start going off to the side again. This sense of your complete rib cage is really important when you're leaning from side to side. So bring my chair, right? But yeah, I just want you to go over, right? One way, that means your arm is on your chair. So there's me doing it with my chair, with my own chair. Here's me doing it with the chair next to me, right? But I want to get both sides of my ribcage, so I'm leaned over. Right, and this I already know is my sunk side. So I'm going to try to just open it up, right? Get a sense of both sides of my ribcage. Center my head along my spine. Lift under my collarbones. Now lift into both sides of my sternum chest. Breathe into that. Keep my mind in my sitting bones and in both feet. Good, and then release. Remember, it's your spine that delivers the energy, right? Your brain, your mind directs it, but your spine delivers it. And so this idea of taking time to get both sides of your spine, both sides of your rib cage. So now I'm going the other way, and I'm making sure, just like when my arms were behind me, I'm really trying to get both sides of my rib cage to be in my mind's eye, both sitting bones, both feet, and coordinating the three. Rib cage, sitting bones, feet. Ooh, and for me, it's got to be the side of my neck, right? Because I'm catching myself as I'm doing this. Good, and then come on back to center. I don't know about you, but in order for me to engage equally into both sides of my rib cage, is it kind of tiring? Anyone feeling that? Because that's like literally like a closet that you haven't opened. It has to do with the intercostal muscles along your ribs. And those muscles between your ribs, when they're supple, your breath improves in quality dramatically. When they're kind of locked down and stiff, you don't breathe nearly as well, right? So actually, we're working on breathing right now, right? So you're going over and you're watching both sides of your rib cage. It's always going to be harder to see the downside. Easier going to see the stretch side, right? And so you have both sides, both sides of your chest, lengthen the spine. So there's a whole bunch of yoga poses that do this, that make the rib cage twist and turn and lean, and ask the practitioner to feel space anyway. Good, and then release. And come on back to the center. And notice in the center, your rib cage is more collapsed. Can you feel that? So the advanced units kind of settles down in itself. That's why lift your chest. As you lift your chest, let the intercostal muscles open and receive your breath. So it's not just your rib cage, because it's the muscles. The rib cage expand as the diaphragm expands, as intercostal muscles expand. So taking a couple of breaths. Dang, I'm holding too much tension in my right shoulder blade. You've got some story like that in your body. Something's not as supple as something else. And I don't really care if you're got a neurological deficit. Your consciousness can feel both sides of your body. You just have to work for it. Good, and then release. So I want you to, I'm backing up so you can see a little bit more. We're gonna do some more overt full-bodied standing poses that emphasize the rib cage, right? Standing poses while sitting, so already we're in a world that if I just accept that I never fully accepted that I couldn't do yoga, right? And by the way, when I first started doing yoga, I don't know if you've read Waking, but I started working the poses really hard with my will again, and I broke my femur bone, right? Because I tried too hard. And so what I didn't learn and study was this type of subtlety. So I got my legs wide, so I'm more open. Right? So I'm going to start coordinating different hemispheres of my body, which will map to different hemispheres of my brain. Take your right hand, push on your right knee, take the left arm up. And then go back. And then the other way. So I'm pushing down my femur bone, which, by the way, as soon as I push on my femur bone, right, you know what it is to raise your rib cage. We've already practiced that. Now the arm is up. So you're grounding with the left hand and the left knee. You're expanding. You're feeling both sides of your rib cage. And then release. Again, so we're trying to get a grounding sensation, an equally open sensation of the rib cage, and an expansion through the arm. So I'm going to push in on my leg here, open, and try to get both sides of my rib cage. Grounding by taking my right hand and my right knee. Opening my chest. Lengthening my spine, hitting down with my tailbone, stretching out to the top of my head. Good, and then release. And then the other way. Inhale, and on an exhale, release. Here comes the rhythm. Ooh, I almost lost balance there. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Remember, the key to rhythm is continuous. It never stops. Down, up, down, up. It'll be continuous if the movement is generated from your spine, not by your limbs. Each time. What's hard? And then come on back into center. Bring your legs into center. What's hard for me in that is that as I start moving faster, right, I start to lose track. The speed of the movement takes my mind's attention. So I start to lose the feeling of both sides of my rib cage. Now, this is why repetition in yoga is so important, is that as you introduce more movement, your mind's going to get caught up in it, and it's going to forget other parts. And it's only by practice that you can stay full bodied in a movement. So take your legs apart again, right? So when you move slow, so I'm going to grab my right hand on my right knee and open up. Now, when I go slow, I can feel both sides of my rib cage. Exhale down, inhale up, both sides of my rib cage, grounding, right? Now I'm going to start speeding up, and I need to stay feeling both sides of my rib cage, back and forth, right? So the rhythm needs not to take away from the awareness, right? It needs to add to the awareness. So make sure you're coordinating your breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, back and forth. Now, reach for the sky here with your spine, and then back down, and then reach within the rhythm. Reach with the spine straight up and down. Reach. Reach. Good. And then be back in center and come back into the center. That's one of the things that, getting back to the idea of allowing and accepting, if I only think of reaching as with my hand, right, then I'm just going to try harder and get taller. You know, you can never actually reach the sky, right, or touch the sky. And if the only way you try to touch the sky or kiss the sky, as Jimi Hendrix says, if you know that song, excuse me while I kiss the sky, right? If I do it just by reaching physically for it, right? One of the things that I learned in yoga is that the best way to reach is with my spine. So instead of it thinking it's just my arm, it's with my spine. My spine reaches through my limbs, right? So again, now take the arm up and reach with your spine through your arms, through your arm, right? Instead of it just going like this, you're reaching. But in order to reach up there beyond my arm, I have to hit down with my sitting bones. I have to still drop towards the earth, right? So you reach. Okay, so we did the side to side. So now it gets a little tougher, right? A couple like more living on your chair rather than in your chair, right? So take your legs wide again. Now here's where you got to make sure you don't fall out of the chair. And by the way, whenever I give you an instruction like that, it's because I'm remembering myself not to fall out of the chair. Right, someone's trying to get in here. Right? So now with less base, so I already know I got to be careful. I'm going to try to lean over. All right? So my legs aren't on the, so I got to really make sure I'm being smart, right? So this is why you could use a table here. That'd be great. And I got junk on my table seat. Right? And then I'm going to open up. So now I'm leaned over and I'm open and I'm trying to extend through my legs and my arms, feeling both sides of my rib cage. Reach beyond the top of your head, beyond your fingertips, both sides of your rib cage, both legs, both feet. Breathe. Keep reaching, and then come on back. Got to reposition. I can tell. Know that this side's going to be different. I'm going to lean over. Already, as soon as I lean over, it's harder for me to be in my legs. So I'm grounding them here. Then I'm opening up. So now my legs are wide, sitting bones down, extending to the top of my head, hitting down to the chair, extending through both legs, all of it coming through the center of the spine. All the reaching, all the striving shouldn't be done by our mind. It should be done from our spine. Good, then come on back. Bring your legs back together. That's a big line, by the way. That's not just true about a yoga pose. Then come forward and lengthen your back. I'm gonna put my hands up to the table because I got it right here. Now I want to do something. If you're not got a table, then bring your hands on your knees. I want you to ground your hands and feet. Right? So I'm doing it like this. Using body presence and my breath to center. Right? To be strong. Good, and then come on back up. Take your left hand outside your right hip. Take the other hand behind you. Right. Inhale, lift up, and gently twist. Exhale, revolve. Mm-hmm. Be supple. Don't crank. Feel the space, even as you're twisting it. Right? Good, and then release. So obviously, well, not obvious, but the space on the side of the spine that you're twisting into tends to get compressed a little bit, right? The space on the side that you're twisting towards has an opportunity to open differently, right? So you're trying to equalize. So take your left hand, right hand outside your left leg, other hand, so you're in that position. Make sure you stay open equally on both sides of your spine. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, revolve. Now I can gently use my breath to ensure that both sides of my spine are receiving. Good, and then come on back to center. Be in the center. Practice some symmetry. So I've got one, when I twist, I don't twist nearly as freely this way than this way. So as I center, I'm recognizing, allowing that, not just accepting that. And then when I allow it, my mind's a little bit more supple, so I can equalize in the symmetry. Soften the jaw. So you're using similar, not doing Shavasana yet. We're using the symmetry. Feet on the floor, hands on the knees. Sitting bones each side of each shoulder, each side of your neck. Press gently down to the sitting bones to give more definition to the midline. Lift up through your chest. Extend out to the top of your head. Don't lose your feet and knees. Breathe into a more disciplined container, a more receiving container. Good, and then release. A completely lax body with no tone, with no structure, doesn't receive very well, nor does an over-gripped body. So when you're using symmetry, you're just like allowing there to be some structures, a tiny little bit of effort, so you can receive even better. But you can't be gripping too hard to fully receive. And this is the difference between practicing symmetry and practicing Shavasana. In Shavasana, you want to let it go, right? But as I'm sitting here, I'm using the structure without too much attachment to receive better, to go inward with the safety of the structure of my body. Good, and then release, and then prepare for Shavasana. So now you're taking that kind of disciplined touch of your whole body from inside to out, and you're finding a position that you get to really let go in. That could be leaning forward for you. It could be tipping your wheelchair back. It could be a whole bunch of things. Right? But you need to now let go more. Let the chair or the floor hold you up. Soften around the temples, the jaw, the inside of the mouth. Stay grounded, but allow the whole room. It's your company. Feel your breath. Thank your body. Thank it again. Start to bring yourself back. Slightly deeper inhalation, slightly longer exhalation. When you're ready, open your eyes. If it's too bright, close them again. And then open more slowly. So one of the things that is crucial to expanding or developing yoga practices is that, well, and why asana is so hopeful. Yeah, it helps you do physical things, but there's hope in the emptiness that's inside you. But you can't accept that inward depth. You have to allow it. If you accept it, it stays away. If you allow it, it starts to integrate into your movement. So the difference between allowing, like in the beginning of class or throughout, and just accepting, there's a big difference. And the movements become deeper and more hopeful and actually more precise and all those things when you can bring that inward dimension into it. That the only way that the inward dimension is not accessible through your will. You can squeeze it, you can direct it, but you can't increase your exposure to it. In fact, when you will it, it tends to narrow, right? And so you're trying to find this incredible balance of being open, allowing it, and moving it, right? And so that's a big, big difference. And it makes, for me, my asana practice more meaningful. All right, everybody, if you can bring your hands together, do. Namaste. Spirit in me bows the spirit in you.